What's going on, guys? Mr. Jones coming at you once again. Today we're going to get right back into chapter 5, starting with 5.2. It's called Too Big or Not Too Big? That is the question. So it's a solidified task, so it shouldn't be 100% new. In fact, we are going to try and remember the work that we did last time. So remember we were talking about Carlos and Clarita and their pet boarding business. And their dad suggested that they use 12 cats and 12 dogs. And we figured out that it was too big. It said, as Carlos is considering the amount of money available for purchasing cat pens and dog runs, he realizes that his father's suggestion of boarding the same number of each is too big. Why? So we already figured this out, but I want to remind you of this. So because it said it was too big, it's talking about too big in regards to cost. We don't have enough money. Okay, we don't have enough money. And so the equation that we came up for cost was, remember, $32 per cat plus $80 per dog. And that has to be below $1,280, below or equal. Okay, and then we plugged in 12 for each of these, right? So 12 cats, 12 dogs. So we said 32 times 12 plus 80 times 12. And we needed that number to be less than or equal to 1280. And if it isn't, then it doesn't work, right? So you guys pulled out your calculator and you said, what is 32 times 12? And you got 384. And then you added that to 80 times 12, which is 960. Okay. And then once you actually added those together, you got 1344. So you said, is 1344 less than or equal to 1280? And the answer is no. So that's kind of the main reason in the beginning as to answer the first question as to why. You're going to show this on your paper and then answer right above number 1. Okay, it says, Carlos included a plan to invest much of the $12.80 they earned from the last business venture. It'll cost $32 for each cat pen, $80 for each dog run, and then we just used the equation and showed it. So now what it wants you to do is remember that we can put these on the graph. Okay, so if we didn't put them on the graph last video, I actually don't even remember if we did or didn't. I have graphed both of the equations over here in standard form. So the red one, the blue one is going to be how much money we have, the startup cost. And the red is going to be space. So we're just going to write that. Red is space. And blue is startup cost. Startup cost. So how much money we have available to spend. Okay. So there's the two graphs. You should actually put those in Desmos so you can follow along. Okay. Get rid of this silly thing. All right, so now coming back to not that, but this. Okay, it says find at least 5 or more. Let me see if I can make this side bigger. Yeah. 5 or more combinations of cats and dogs that would be too big based on this startup cost constraint. So we're only looking at the startup cost constraint. All we care about is the blue graph. I want 5 points, 5 combinations of cats and dogs that would be too big. Okay, so you're going to look at your graph. And all we care about is the blue. And so give me 5 combinations of cats and dogs that would be too big. Okay. I would tell you that, 30 cats and 10 dogs is too big. Okay. So that's one. You can see if you can find that on the graph. Remember, X is cats and Y is dogs. Okay. X is cats and Y is dogs. So on the X-axis, you're talking about the number of cats. On the Y-axis, you're talking about the number of dogs. For example, this point right here, if I click on it on the X-axis, represents 40 cats and no dogs. And this point represents what? 0 cats, 16 dogs. Very good. So just to give you a heads up, you're going to give me 5 points that are too big, and you're going to give the whole ordered pair. So I don't remember what point I chose. I think I chose 30 cats and 10 dogs. That's too big. It's too big. Okay? Then you're going to plot each of those on the coordinate grid. So you could actually do that in Desmos. Normally we do this on paper and we have colored pencils in class. But if you were to put a point, you would go like this, 30, comma, 10. And then you can hold down on the red dot here and change it to the same color. It asks you to change to the same color that you made the line, I guess. So you're going to do that 5 times, and you're going to show 5 points that are too big. Okay. And then it says find at least 5 combinations of cats and dogs that would be not too big. Okay. So that either equal 1280 or below 280. You're going to do the exact same thing. And then find at least 5 combinations that would be just right. So these ones are very specific that equal exactly 1280. And then it says plot each of those as points on the coordinate grid using a third color. So you should have 3 different colors. And they should all one should represent too big, one should represent not too big. So we'll say smaller than 1280, and one should equal exactly 1280. So you should have 15 points, like I do, on your graph. You might want to screenshot this and send it to me so I can see all your hard work. Or your teacher. I guess Mr. Norman's, if you're Mr. Norman's students, you're listening to this too, right? So don't send it to me. All right, then it says, what do you notice about these 3 different collection of points? Right, what do you notice about these 3 different collections of points? Then it says, write an equation for the line that passes through the points representing combinations of cat pins and dog runs that cost exactly 1280. What does the slope of this line represent? Okay, so what I actually want you to do for number 5 is pause this video, and you're going to take the equation that I gave you already, because all we care about is that one equation, right? We're going to take the one that I gave you already, and here's the equation right there, 32x plus 80y equals 1280. And I want you to change this equation to slope-intercept form. If we already did it for the warm-up, then go ahead and just take a look. All right, so we already did this on the warm-up, and so we're just going to write down the slope-intercept equation for this that we already figured out earlier, right? Okay, so it was this, and that's why we did this for the warm-up, so we can actually, this is my cost, my startup cost equation in slope-intercept form, okay? Actually, I have it right here now, and if I click it, you can see it's the exact same line. That's how we know we got it right. Okay. So with that being said, it says, write an equation. What does the slope of the line represent? So look at this negative 2/5. If, you know, slope is rise over run. So negative 2/5. Obviously your slope's negative. You can see that in your graph. But what does it mean, negative 2/5? What's the 2 represent? What's the 5 represent? Okay, see if you guys can talk about that. Now, what the heck does the slope represent in regards to the problem, right? As you lose 2 cats, what can you do with the dogs or vice versa? You know what I'm saying? What does the 2 represent? Actually, the 2 is dogs and the 5 is cats. Okay, so what does it mean? Speak a little bit deeper than that. Give me a couple sentences about that. All right, they don't have they don't have to spend all their money on cat pins and dog runs unless it will help them maximize their profit. Right? So they don't have to spend the whole 1280 if they can spend less money. Shade all the points on your coordinate grid that satisfy the startup cost constraint. So now it wants you to get into an inequality. Write a mathematical rule to represent the points shaded in number 6. So all we're going to do is we're going to think of it this way. Okay? That if we had this original equation, $32 per cat plus $80 per dog needs to be less than or equal to 1280. Okay, and now, whenever we were to solve the equation before, instead of getting this equation right here, it would be very similar. Okay, we're going to have a y, and we're going to have a negative 2/5 x plus 16, but we're not going to have an equal sign anymore. We're going to have an inequality sign. So if you pull up this little keyboard right here, you can find the inequality sign. And I don't know why I'm putting it there all of a sudden. I wanted to put it right here, right? Oh, I got rid of the negative sign on accident. There we go. There, now we put it in there. And so that's what it actually looks like. It shades everything, right? Let's see if I can get this back over here. Drama. Okay, so it shades everything. So now we're going to draw an inequality symbol, but it's going to look like this. Okay, so try and draw it like that, and you should see it shaded. So whenever you shade, you only need you don't need anything to the left of the y-axis or anything below the x-axis, because you can't have a negative number of cats and you can't have a negative number of dogs, right? So everything in orange is possible points, that all your points that were below or fit the constraint should have been within the orange. Okay? Now it says, in addition to the startup costs, Carlos needs to consider how much space he has available. Okay? We already had the equation before. Whoop! I don't know what the heck's going on here. We already had the equation before for space. It says we need 6 square feet per cats and 24 square feet for dogs, and we have only 360 to work with, right? So I want you to figure out the slope-intercept form that matches this, and then also write it as an inequality. So basically, I'm just going to help you with that. This no longer is going to be equals. We need that to be less than or equal to, right? So make sure you write your slope-intercept form as an inequality also. Okay, I'll let you guys do that on your own. If you have questions, if you got it right, let me know or let your teacher know. And then lastly, what do you think? What recommendations would you give to Carlos and Clarita regarding how many cats and dogs to plan on boarding? And what argument would you use to convince them that your recommendation is reasonable? Okay. The final thing I want on this assignment, the last question, is that I want a paragraph. Okay, a paragraph. You should have a bunch of information. You should have graphs. You should have graphs shaded. You should have a table. You have all kinds of information. We've given you a lot of the answers, and now it's time to say, I think with my best recommendation, you should choose this many cats and this many dogs, and let me tell you why. Based on my graph, based on my chart, based on the numbers, here's what I choose. Please sell it to me. I want a paragraph that means 5 sentences minimum. Okay, complete sentences. Okay, that's what we want for the rest of this problem is a paragraph. You don't have to draw a graph, an actual one. You're using Desmos, so at least write some stuff for us. All right, guys, hopefully this helps. Have a great day. Bye.